Nobody had this on their 2026 bingo card. Not the boxing purists, not the reality TV critics, not even the people who thought they'd already seen everything when it came to Chrisean Rock. Because this time, it's not another viral clip, not another chaotic live stream, not another internet meltdown that lasts 48 hours and disappears. No, this time, Chrisean Rock walked into a real boxing ring, under real rules, with real consequences, and suddenly the internet went quiet in the most dangerous way possible. Let's be clear, this isn't some influencer sparring in a warehouse for clicks. This isn't a fake celebrity exhibition with foam gloves and an apology tour afterward. This is sanctioned. This is licensed. This is gloves up, mouth guard in, lights bright, ref watching, the kind of situation where ego gets checked fast. And the wildest part, nobody leaked this until it was already done. No build-up. No warning. Just boom, Chrisean Rock, officially. Stepping into professional boxing territory like she's been plotting it in silence while everyone else was distracted by drama. And the reaction. Oh, it's nuclear. Fans are split. Critics are panicking, fighters are side-eyeing, meme pages are foaming at the mouth, because love her or hate her. One thing is undeniable, Chrisean Rock just did something nobody thought she was disciplined enough, focused enough, or serious enough to pull off. And now the question isn't why she did it. For years, Chrisean Rock has lived in a category all by herself, not athlete, not influencer, not villain, not hero. She's been more like a walking plot twist, the kind of person who turns every room into a headline and every silence into suspicion. So when the internet woke up to the realization that Chrisean Rock had quietly stepped into a real boxing ring, the confusion wasn't subtle, it was violent. Because nothing about her public image screamed discipline, patience, or long-term planning, and yet, that's exactly what boxing demands. This wasn't announced with balloons or captions screaming new era. There was no countdown clock, no glossy promo rollout, no influencer theatrics. Instead, the information leaked the most terrifying way possible through paperwork, licensing, sanctioning, the boring adult stuff that doesn't trend unless it's real. And the second those documents surfaced, the jokes stopped being funny because you can clown a rumor, you can laugh at a stunt, but contracts don't care about vibes. The first wave of reactions was pure disbelief. Fans assumed it was another internet misunderstanding, another headline stretched beyond recognition. Some thought it was celebrity sparring, others assumed it was an exhibition fight with fake intensity and real paychecks. But insiders started correcting the narrative fast. This wasn't cosplay boxing. This wasn't padded. This wasn't hold me back energy. This was regulated, officials involved, trainers attached, gloves that hurt, rules that don't bend just because you're famous. And that's when the tension began creeping in. Because boxing is not forgiving. Boxing doesn't reward chaos. Boxing doesn't care how viral you are, how loud your fans scream, or how messy your personal life looks on camera. Boxing punishes ego. Boxing humiliates shortcuts. Boxing exposes people in ways reality TV never could, which made the obvious question impossible to ignore. Why would Chrisean Rock willingly walk into something that strips away protection? That question only got louder when people realized how long this had been brewing. Gym sightings started adding up. Coaches noticed her presence long before the internet did. Late nights. No cameras, no entourage chaos, no phones out fishing. For content, just sweat, repetition, and silence. And if you know anything about Chrisean Rock, you know silence is not her usual weapon, which meant something had shifted. Critics immediately dragged out her past like it was evidence in a courtroom. Emotional volatility, explosive arguments, public meltdowns. They framed her history like a checklist of reasons this would fail. She won't stay focused. She'll lose her temper. She's not built for structure. All confident. Predictions made by people who've never stepped between ropes but suddenly became experts overnight. But what they missed is that boxing doesn't require calm personalities. It requires controlled ones, And sometimes the people with the most raw emotional energy are the most dangerous once it's disciplined. That idea made purists uncomfortable. Because if someone like Chrisean could actually adapt, it would disrupt the narrative they rely on to separate real fighters from everyone else. Then came the quiet confirmations. Trainers with actual resumes, not Instagram coaches, not clout chasers. People who've stood in corners while fighters bled. Their involvement changed the tone instantly. These weren't names you attached to a joke. These weren't people who sign on for chaos. Their presence suggested intent, and intent is where mockery dies. The internet tried to pivot quickly. First denial, then ridicule, then moral concern. Suddenly everyone cared about safety. Suddenly boxing became too dangerous for someone they never wanted to respect in the first place. The hypocrisy was loud. The same timelines that celebrate knockouts and street fight compilations suddenly clutched pearls because Chrisean Rock chose a regulated sport over reckless behavior. What really unsettled people, though, was the lack of theatrics. No trash talk tour, no disrespectful call-outs, no messy build-up, just preparation. That restraint felt unnatural to viewers who only know her through chaos edits. And when someone you boxed into a stereotype starts moving differently, it creates cognitive dissonance. People don't like being wrong about someone they've already judged. Insiders began whispering that this wasn't about money, that this wasn't even about fame, because let's be honest, Chrisean doesn't need boxing to trend. She trends by breathing. The real motive felt darker, personal. Like someone trying to prove something without asking permission from public opinion. And that kind of motivation is dangerous in combat sports. The boxing world itself didn't know how to react. Some dismissed it as another celebrity invasion. Others stayed quiet, watching carefully. Because anyone who truly understands boxing knows the most dangerous fighter isn't always the most polished. It's the one who doesn't fear embarrassment. And Chrisean Rock has lived her entire career unafraid of being judged. As the story spread, something strange happened. The headlines stopped laughing. The tone shifted from mockery to analysis. People began asking real questions. Who is training her? How long has she been preparing? What weight class? What rules? What timeline? Those aren't questions you ask when you expect a joke to collapse. Those are questions you ask when something might actually happen. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wanted to admit. Chrisean Rock stepping into boxing made too much sense. The aggression, the endurance, the pain tolerance, the refusal to back down, all traits people criticized suddenly looked like assets under the right guidance. That realization didn't sit well with critics who'd already written her off as incapable of growth. By the time fans accepted that this was real, it was already too late to stop the momentum. The ring was set, the gloves were real, and the narrative had shifted from "this is ridiculous" to "what if this actually works?" Because the scariest thing about this entire move isn't the punches, it's the discipline, the silence. The fact that for once, Chrisean Rock didn't ask the internet for approval. She just showed up somewhere that demands accountability and let the shock speak for itself. The moment the reality settled in, the internet did what it always does when control slips through its fingers. It spiraled, not slowly, not thoughtfully. It collapsed into a full-blown cultural tantrum. Because once people accepted that Chrisean Rock wasn't pretending, the conversation stopped being funny and started being uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is where chaos thrives. Boxing purists were the first to sound alarms. Suddenly, timelines were filled with lectures about respecting the sport, as if boxing hasn't been dragged through every form of spectacle imaginable for decades. The same people who tolerated YouTubers, rappers, influencers, and retired athletes stepping into rings suddenly drew the line at Chrisean Rock. Not because she wasn't famous enough, but because she didn't fit the image they felt comfortable defending. Then came the memes. Oh, the memes were ruthless. Clips of her past blow-ups edited with championship music. Freeze frames flowed down. Captions asking if rage counts as footwork. People compared her career arc to a reality show crossover. episode nobody asked for but everyone secretly wanted to watch. The jokes were loud, fast, and relentless, but underneath the laughter was panic. Because memes are how the internet processes fear without admitting it. Celebrity reactions poured in like gasoline. Some applauded the discipline, framing it as growth, evolution, and self-control. Others masked their doubt behind fake encouragement, saying things like hope she stays safe while clearly expecting disaster. A few took sharper shots, implying boxing requires composure she's never shown publicly. But the most telling reactions came from the fighters who said nothing at all. No jokes, no shade. No clout chasing, just silence, and silence from professionals. Usually means evaluation, not dismissal. Meanwhile, training footage began circulating. Not cinematic, not overly edited, just repetitive drills, heavy breathing, sweat-soaked determination. And the internet didn't know what to do with it, because effort ruins narratives. You can mock a headline, but you can't laugh at consistency without looking insecure. Each clip chipped away at the "this won't last" crowd, forcing critics to adjust their arguments in real time. That's when the outrage crowd changed. Tactics, the conversation pivoted from "she can't do this" to "should she be allowed to do this?" Suddenly, everyone cared about mental health, safety, and ethics. The same platforms that glorify street fights and viral chaos suddenly developed standards. The hypocrisy was Olympic level. But outrage doesn't need logic, it just needs attention. Pop culture comparisons exploded everywhere. People compared this moment to musicians turning actors, influencers becoming politicians, comedians headlining arenas. The underlying fear was obvious. If someone the internet dismissed as chaotic could step into a structured and forgiving sport and survive, then maybe the labels people cling to aren't as permanent as they thought. And that terrifies gatekeepers more than failure ever could. Then the conspiracy theories started brewing. Some claimed it was all marketing. Others insisted it was a setup designed to humiliate her publicly. A few argued she was being exploited. But none of those theories explained the discipline. None explained the silence. None explained why someone who already commands attention would willingly enter an environment where attention doesn't protect you from consequences. The meme pages tried to keep pace, but the jokes lost their bite. Because once something stops being hypothetical, humor becomes risky, laugh too hard, and you might look stupid later. And nobody wants to be the tweet that ages badly when the outcome flips the script. The culture clash reached its peak when fans split into factions. One side rooted for chaos, waiting for a meltdown they could clip and repost. The other side started rooting for growth, hoping she'd defy expectations just to spite the doubters. And in the middle were the spectators, the ones who didn't like her, didn't trust her, but couldn't stop watching. Those are the most dangerous viewers of all. What made this moment explode wasn't just boxing, it was symbolism. Chrisean Rock represented everything the internet thought it had already figured out: loud, messy, predictable. And now she was doing something that required patience, humility, and repetition, the exact opposite of her public persona. Watching that contradiction unfold in real time broke people's brains. Even media outlets couldn't decide how to frame it. Some ran headlines dripping with skepticism. Others treated it like a redemption arc in progress. But none could ignore it, because whether they wanted her to win or lose, they needed her outcome. The story demanded resolution. And here's the twist nobody wanted to say out loud. The more people doubted her, the more interesting the story became. If she failed, critics would feel validated. If she succeeded, the entire narrative ecosystem around her would collapse. Either way, the spectacle was guaranteed. And that realization turned outrage into obsession. Because once the internet invests emotionally, it doesn't let go. It just waits, watches, screenshots, prepares receipts. Chrisean Rock didn't just enter a boxing ring. She entered a cultural pressure cooker where every punch carries symbolic weight. And at this point, the question was no longer whether she belonged there. The real question had shifted into something far more dangerous for everyone watching. Once the jokes faded and the outrage cooled, something far more dangerous took its place: reality. Because boxing doesn't end when the memes stop circulating. It begins when perception collides with consequences, and Chrisean Rock didn't just challenge critics. She challenged the version of herself the public thought was permanent. The first ripple hit her reputation. For years, her name triggered instant assumptions: loud, unstable, reckless. But boxing rewired the conversation overnight, not because she suddenly became universally respected. That was never going to happen. But because she did something the internet didn't authorize. She chose discipline without asking permission. And nothing unsettles public opinion more than someone evolving outside the comment section. People who once dismissed her now struggled to explain why they were still watching. Because hate watching is easy when the outcome feels predictable. It becomes uncomfortable when growth enters the frame. Suddenly, critics had to decide whether to keep rooting for failure or admit they underestimated her. And the internet hates admitting it was wrong more than it hates controversy itself. Her relationships shifted too. You could feel it in the silence from familiar voices. Some supporters didn't know how to adjust to this version of her. Chaos is entertaining when it's expected. Focus makes people nervous. And boxing demands focus in a way that doesn't leave room for constant validation. That alone rearranged who stayed close and who faded out quietly. Industry perception changed next, not into praise, into caution. Promoters, networks, and commentators began treating her less like a punchline and more like a variable. And variables are dangerous because they disrupt formulas. The same system that once monetized her instability now had to account for her agency. That made people uncomfortable in rooms the public never sees. Meanwhile, her fans split again, not over whether she should box, but over what her success or failure would mean. Because if she failed, it would reinforce every lazy stereotype ever attached to her name. But if she succeeded, it would force a rewrite, not just of her narrative, but of how quickly the internet decides who's capable of growth. And here's where the tension sharpened. Chrisean Rock didn't need to become a champion to change the story. She only needed to prove she belonged in the room, because boxing doesn't reward hype, it exposes truth. Win or lose, the act of stepping into a regulated and forgiving environment already separated her from the chaos people love to mock. The cultural impact lingered longer than anyone expected. Commentary shifted from "this is ridiculous" to "this might actually matter." Conversations about celebrity boxing became more serious. Questions about discipline, transformation, and accountability started slipping into spaces that usually thrive on mockery. And none of that would have happened if the move felt fake. The irony: the same people who accused her of chasing attention suddenly didn't know how to respond when she stopped performing. And for them, no dramatic live breakdowns, no explosive callouts, just preparation. And preparation doesn't feed the algorithm the way distraction does. That restraint forced the audience to confront something uncomfortable. Maybe the chaos they consumed helped shape the version of her they claimed to hate. As the dust settled, one truth became unavoidable: Chrisean Rock entering the boxing world wasn't about proving toughness. She'd already proven that in 100 messy ways. This was about control, about taking something raw and refining it under pressure, about stepping into a space where excuses don't work and accountability is immediate. And the future, that's where the real anxiety lies. Because now, every move she makes carries new weight. Every appearance, every decision, every outcome will be measured differently. The margin for error shrinks when you choose legitimacy. And legitimacy doesn't protect you, it exposes you. There's no edit button in the ring, no viral distraction when things go wrong, just you, your preparation, and the truth. Whether she wins or loses, something irreversible already happened. The narrative cracked, the caricature broke. And once that happens, the internet can never quite put you back where you were. This isn't a redemption story. It's not a downfall either. It's something far more unsettling. A reminder that people don't stay frozen in the roles assigned to them, and when someone everyone underestimated decides to operate in silence, the outcome becomes unpredictable. That unpredictability is what scares people the most. Because chaos is entertaining when it's loud, discipline is terrifying when it's quiet, and Chrisean Rock didn't just step into a boxing ring, she stepped into a space where perception dies fast and truth hits harder than any punch. And whatever happens next, win, loss, triumph, or disaster, one thing is guaranteed, that so now the gloves are on, the ring is real, and the excuses are officially retired. Chrisean Rock didn't ask the internet for approval, permission, or a group vote. She just showed up and dared everyone to keep the same energy. And whether you're rooting for a miracle, a meltdown, or a moment that breaks the algorithm in half, one thing is painfully clear. You're watching history unfold in real time. Let's be honest. Half of you clicked this video hoping for disaster. The other half clicked hoping she'd shut everyone up. And the rest of you, you're here because chaos with consequences hits different. So don't act brand new now. If you've got an opinion, and we know you do, drop it in the comments. Say it with your chest. Does Chrisean Rock belong in the ring, or is this the boldest gamble of her life? And if this story had you locked in, confused, irritated, entertained, or nervously invested, smash that like button like it owes you money. Hit subscribe like you're tired of watered-down takes and fake outrage, because scandals don't wait. Narratives flip overnight, and this channel catches it all before the dust settles. This isn't just about boxing. It's about perception. It's about control. It's about what happens when someone everyone underestimated decides to rewrite the script without asking permission. So stay right here. Because when the gloves come off and the truth comes out, see, LEB Ruckus is where the chaos gets